Welcome back. You know, there are still people out there who think politics is boring and people don't care. But overall, voter turnout skyrocketed this week. The problem for Democrats, it skyrocketed even more for Republicans. We love our midterms so much in Florida, we have decided to drag them out a couple more days or weeks. We just can't seem to decide who we want as U.S. Senator Rick Scott or Bill Nelson, or as Governor Ron DeSantis or Andrew Gillum. Say what you will about the impending recounts, but they wouldn't be necessary if those candidates earned decisive victories. And joining us for more are Congressman-elect Greg Steube, Rodney Jones, the president of the Manatee County NAACP, and Tampa Bay Times political correspondent William March. But first, with tonight's poll question, here is ABC 7 digital producer Chloe Comboy.
Alan, today I posted your Facebook poll question asking viewers, do you think the issue of a recount is a Democratic plot to overturn the election? In just a few hours, we've had over 2,000 votes and over 300 comments on our Facebook page. Coming up, I'll share some of those comments with you and reveal what the final poll numbers say. Alan, back to you.
Chloe, thank you. As I mentioned, so many of these races were so incredibly close. One that was not, Greg, was yours, and let me be the first to congratulate you and actually say Congressman-elect. What was that experience like? I mean, I know what the district is, but it still must have been an incredibly exciting experience.
Yeah, I think it started to sink in this week when you start getting FedEx packages from Speaker Paul Ryan inviting you to dinners for all of the different newly elected congressmen. So it's very humbling to be a part of the 116th Congress. I look forward to serving my constituents there. And I actually fly up to D.C. on Monday, so the first week of new member orientations next week. You go through the process of them doing your orientation and picking an office. It's all by lottery system, so it's starting to sink in, and I'm looking forward to serving in Washington.
Wendy, on the other hand, these other races, the governor's race, the Senate race, are so close that those candidates can only start the process of what they need to do, but we still don't know in the end. You know, you mentioned to me before the show there was, in fact, a blue wave. It's just that the red wave was bigger, at least in Florida.
Well, there was a blue wave, and the results of that are very obvious. In Hillsborough County, we just had a huge turnout, and it was a blue turnout mostly. It was a bloodbath for Republicans in Hillsborough County. But if you take if you look at Andrew Gillum's votes, he got just a hair more than 4 million votes. That would have been a monumental landslide in any of the last three governor races. There's never been more than 3 million votes cast for a candidate for governor in Florida history. So yeah, there was a blue wave, but there was also a red wave.
Rodney, I was under a wrong assumption, which was not going to surprise a lot of my viewers, but I thought that the African-American community would be so energized during this election process. When you think about the last two governor's elections, Rick Scott won by, I think, 60,000 votes, less the second time around. And I thought that around the state, that the African-American vote, which was kind of plateaued in 2008, would just come back and carry him to victory. What happened?
I think we still had a very good turnout. I can only speak for Manatee County, not so much for around the state, but we've had record turnout, especially at our precincts at what I would consider the black community. They're very diverse communities, but they're some of the lower socioeconomic communities, and we've had pretty significant turnout. I know in the primary, one of our polling places, we were up over 20% over the 2014 primary. So we're doing our thing here. We just like a fair and equitable process to count those votes. That would be nice, because it seems like many of the anomalies that happen, they seem to happen in predominantly minority communities, and that is concerning and alarming.
You know, Greg, we only have a few seconds left, but some of your new colleagues, like Matt Gaetz, you heard what the governor had to say. They're weighing in, and they're basically saying fraud. The Florida Department of Law Enforcement says it is not investigating it yet because the Secretary of State says there is no evidence of fraud.
Well, my interesting point here is we didn't see this in the primary, where like it didn't matter Republican or Democrat who the outcome was, because it was Democrats had a primary and the Republicans had a primary, and now all of a sudden we're taking days to come up with, and then tens of thousands of ballots are showing up when the law requires that to be certified within 30 minutes of the polls closing. You have your absentee, your vote by mail ballots, you have your early voting ballots, you run them through a machine and it pops out a number. So how we're coming up with tens of thousands of new ballots is very suspect to me.
I was a Broward County voter in 2000, so I know all about it. We're going to take a quick pause. Our conversation on the week in politics continues right after we get a check on the First Alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
Thanks, Alan. We have some changes taking place over the weekend, and then next week, especially next week, we'll see a bigger change. But a weak cold front is coming down on Saturday. That weak cold front will bring us a little increasing clouds and a slight chance for a few passing showers anywhere from 10 a.m. up until around 2 p.m. But those showers will be not all that intense, and they'll be very few. More showers and an isolated thunderstorm possible come Tuesday late and into Wednesday morning as a stronger cold front works its way in. And then get ready for some cooler temperatures. That's right, they'll be here on Wednesday and stick around through Friday as that north wind starts to blow pretty strong. Now, as far as we're concerned, this front is still way back to the west of us, stretching all the way down to Louisiana near New Orleans, producing just a little bit of rainfall. The main low pressure is way up here, so it's a long way away from the tail end of that cold front. That's the reason why we don't expect to see a lot of rough weather. They are seeing some pretty big storms over North Florida right now and over into northeast Florida near Jacksonville, but we're not getting that, and I don't think we will. We'll see a few scattered showers. I mentioned the timing on Saturday. Right now, no rain to speak of. Good night for football and football Friday night. We are looking at some playoff games, and as far as temperatures go, well, it's cooler over the Panhandle near that cold front and where the clouds and showers are falling. 69 degrees in Tallahassee. It's 79, though, here in Sarasota. And temperatures did warm to near record-breaking highs today into the mid-80s to upper 80s across the region. 79 now in Northport. The hourly planner tomorrow, notice the temperature does not go into the mid to upper 80s. For highs tomorrow, we'll see them right around 80, 82 degrees or so. Depending upon where you are on the beaches, it'll be right around 80 degrees. And there will be a bit of a breeze, especially in the afternoon once the front moves through. But generally light winds to start the day off. We'll see those winds fairly variable out of the north at 5 in the morning, and then you'll notice 5 to 10. Then we get to the 2-3 o'clock hour. They pick up from 10 to 15 miles an hour out of the north and northeast. That's good news for beachgoers as that wind will be blowing offshore, and any harmful impacts of that red tide should be kept out into the Gulf of Mexico. And then again on Sunday, similar wind flow out of the east and northeast, anywhere from 5 to 10 miles an hour. Here's the forecast model, one of them, showing the front coming down and the line of showers thinning out as it approaches the sun coast. As I said, a few showers are possible, but it won't stick around all that long. It'll push to the south. It'll get hung up down in South Florida. That front will. We'll see a mixture of sun and clouds throughout the day on Saturday. Sunday looks good too. We'll see sunshine intermixed with some clouds in the afternoon, but should start off pretty nice. A little bit of moisture coming back into play with that east wind on Sunday. Monday we warm back up, by the way, into the mid-80s we go. 79 right now, winds out of the west-northwest at 9 miles an hour. The pressure fairly high, 30.01 inches. Our high today near record breaking, just 2 degrees shy of the record. Got up to 86 degrees, the record high at 88. Beautiful sunset tonight. 80 degrees is our normal high. We'll be close to that number tomorrow and on Sunday. And then here's what we're going to do. This is Monday right here. This is looking in the long range. You can see that snow coming down into Arkansas, into Tennessee, and then in through Tennessee. Now this front is going to move through, looks like late Tuesday, but we'll get some showers out ahead of it on Tuesday afternoon. Then it comes through, north winds follow and cools us down. It's not going to be a big cold front, but it will be noticeable on Wednesday and Thursday when temperatures get up only into the low 70s for highs on both those days. North winds start off at 5 to 10, pick up to 15. Seas will be running 2 feet to 3 feet, and there'll be a moderate chop on the bays and inland waters. The extended forecast then calling for pretty decent weekend, really. Temperatures in the low 80s as opposed to mid to upper 80s. We get back to that, though, on Monday. And then a better chance for showers, mainly showers, on late Tuesday and into Wednesday morning. But notice the cooler readings both on Wednesday and Thursday, and even Friday. Not too bad, mid-70s on Friday. Alan will be back with his panel right after this. Stick around.
You like to pay less. That's why you made Honda Accord the best-selling mid-size car in America. Get the redesigned Accord, the North American Car of the Year, or Civic, a KBB.com Best Buy for less than the competition. Like SUVs and trucks? Get Motor Trend's SUV of the Year, CRV, the 8-passenger Pilot, or Ridgeline truck for up to $4,240 less. Today at your local Honda dealer.
Christmas Traditions by LuxArt Silks, where more is merrier. Make your holidays sparkle with style. Browse our amazing showroom, cute collectible cottages, and beautiful Christmas displays. Find the inspiration, selection, and quality you need to deck the halls merry and bright. Christmas Traditions also features the area's largest selection of quality pre-lit Christmas trees, every size, shape, and color, and plenty of decorations to make your home shine for the holidays. Christmas Traditions by LuxArt Silks, where more is merrier. Visit us on New 301, just a quarter-mile north of University Parkway.
The following message is brought to you by Mesobook.com.
People who have been diagnosed with mesothelioma have many questions. How did I get this disease? What are my treatment options? How will this affect my loved ones? You need answers, which is why we offer a free book written by medical professionals who have treated mesothelioma.
Call toll-free at 1-800-777-1366 or go to Mesobook.com.
There are lots of people who are confused about which Medicare plan is right for them.
Hey, that's me. I barely know where to start.
Well, start here with me, Karen. I'm a licensed Humana sales agent.
Well, it's nice to meet you, Karen. I'm John Smith.
Hi, John. At Humana, we know you're unique, so you have different needs from other John Smiths.
Yeah, I've always thought so.
And together, we can find a plan that's right for you.
Great. I go to the doctor a couple of times a year, and I have some prescriptions, but I'm never fully sure of what's covered and what's not.
With Humana's all-in-one Medicare Advantage plans, you get coverage for hospital stays, doctor visits, and Part D prescription drug benefits, all for an affordable and sometimes no monthly plan premium.
Do you have any more information?
Sure. I'll get a decision guide in the mail to you today. They're free.
Finally, someone who understands the real me.
Your health and happiness is important to us. Call or go online now to get your free decision guide. Call a licensed Humana sales agent today.
Growing up, my mom was afraid of the water, something she did not want me to feel.
So I enrolled Missy in swim lessons.
It changed my life.
Missy Franklin.
And now you can do the same for someone that you love.
There's nothing more precious than your child's well-being.
So act now before it's too late.
Make us swim! I'm glad I did.
Thanks, Mom. Visit usaswimmingfoundation.org to find, get, or give a swim lesson.
Welcome back to the Week in Politics, the midterm edition. And joining us for more are Congressman-elect Greg Steube, the president of the NAACP Manatee Chapter Rodney Jones, and Tampa Bay Times political correspondent William March. I guess this should not be surprising in terms of the politics of the impending recounts in 3 different statewide races. And of course, as we saw and we'll see now, the president weighing in earlier today.
They're finding votes out of nowhere. And Rick Scott, who won by, it was close, but he won by a comfortable margin. Every couple of hours, it goes down a little bit. You look at the dishonesty. Look. There's bad things have gone on in Broward County, really bad things.
As I said earlier, I was a Broward County voter in 2000, so I know all about the problems, but both parties are now flooding the state with attorneys. Wendy, what are we about to see?
Well, both sides are trying to create an air of expectation for their candidate. Rick Scott wants to create a public view, a climate of public opinion that he is the legitimately elected senator whose election is being fraudulently challenged. Bill Nelson wants to create the climate of public opinion that there's an open question here and we need to carefully research and look at every vote. They're taking this lesson off the 2000 electoral crisis in Florida.
Debacle,
whatever you want to call it, that in which managing public expectations, public opinion was a big part of the fight, and you're going to see them doing the same thing here.
Greg, is the issue here that, these things happen in all elections in every state? There are sometimes delays in opening, mail-in ballots or overseas ballots, but it really only comes into play when elections are this close.
Yeah, but it's you look at the whole state and you have 67 counties, and there are 2 counties that can't get their act together and do what they're supposed to legally do by the law. You're supposed to have absentees, or what we call today vote-by-mail ballots and early voting ballots, and within 30 minutes of you pushing a button and running those through a machine, you get a number, and that's what the number is. And suddenly we're finding ballots, and where have these ballots been for the last 3 or 4 days, and suddenly the numbers are changing as to the number of people that have actually voted. So of course people are going to be like very suspect of where these ballots are coming from and who these votes are coming from, and people asking for investigations. I asked today for the Department of Justice to do an inquiry and an investigation to make sure that, look, we all want to know that our votes are being counted, and we fully support that, but let's make sure that it's being transparent and it's fair and the votes that are being counted are actually accurate. Because every of the 65 other counties, I mean, in Sarasota, we had our results by 7:30, absentees or vote by mail, early voting was done.
And it was the same thing in Manatee County. Rodney, what is your major concern right now?
All the stories that we're hearing, not only from all over the state, but there's stories starting to surface in Manatee County. We've got complaints of people going to a poll to vote. That's not your precinct. You're supposed to go over here. They go over to the other polling place and they tell them to go back to where they came from. Down in South Florida, there's accounts of power failures at election places. Technical problems. People putting boxes of ballots into civilian cars and transporting ballots. We've heard everything in the world. And so this is not new to us. Maybe it's new to other populations, but we've had concerns about election process all along. Even the vote by mail process, man, that ballot has to touch too many hands for me to feel comfortable with it. To get to your house, from your house back to the post office, back over to the supervisor of elections office. Too many hands on the ballots.
All right, we have to take a quick break. We are just getting warmed up on our conversation. The week in politics will continue right after this.
It's year-end clearance time at every Ghetto location. Over 3,000 new vehicles, over 1,000 used vehicles on clearance right now at Ghetto.com. And Ghetto Pre-Owned Certified Plus means buying with peace of mind. Get credit help, fast cash for your car, and year-end clearance prices right now at a Ghetto dealership near you. Ghetto's got it. At Ghetto.com.
If you're looking for the perfect trip that allows you to spend quality time with the family, then discover the great outdoors on an Alabama Black Belt adventure. Create unforgettable memories while hunting, canoeing, camping, and more. Or challenge yourself on Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail, now celebrating 25 years. And while you're here, enjoy a Deep South dining experience. Book your adventure in one of our members' lodges or stay at the Renaissance Montgomery Hotel and Spa. Start planning an Alabama Black Belt adventure today.
Imagine a world filled with pillow fights, playgrounds, and the search for the perfect climbing tree. Every kid deserves that world, but 1 in 5 kids in America struggle with hunger. At No Kid Hungry, we're committed to creating a world where every kid eats healthy food every day. We raise funds, we help families, and we lift up communities.
In life after the military, it's our duty as veterans to have each other's back. I'm retired Colonel Greg Gatson, and it's my mission to help you get the benefits and services you've earned. If you need to file a VA claim, remember these important steps. Submit an online claim through ebenefits.va.gov. Work with an accredited Veteran Service Organization, or VSO. And if you need to attend a VA claim exam, please go. Visit this website to learn what to expect.
Monday at 5 on ABC7's Good Morning Suncoast.
Hi, I'm Jess Dowdrick.
And I'm Ray Collins. Veterans Day is Sunday, but there are plenty of events still honoring heroes on Monday.
We'll tell you how you can help show your support for veterans today on Good Morning Suncoast. John?
A significant cold front will be approaching that promises us some cooler weather for midweek. We'll be talking about that bright and early.
Monday at 5 on ABC7's Good Morning Suncoast. We're here for you.
Dear parents, it's time for a pop quiz. What's the best kind of play for kids? Play that makes us think? Or helps us pretend? Or teaches us rules? Or to be creative? Actually, every kind of play is important because different kinds of play give us different kinds of skills. Help us mix up the ways we play. Okay, class dismissed. Now go play.
What to expect when you're expecting a teenager.
Today we're talking about how to wake up your teen, and this works literally every time.
Good kisses. Good kisses.
how loud
I
that
know.
was
I
for
heard.
that.
I heard. It wasn't you. It was the.
Is that bacon?
You don't have to know it all to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Get breaking news alerts focused on the Suncoast. Download the ABC 7 News app. You're watching ABC 7 News at 7:30.
Welcome back to the Week in Washington, and joining us for more are Congressman-elect Greg Steube, Rodney Jones, the president of the Manatee County NAACP, and Tampa Bay Times political correspondent William March. We're going to have more on the election coming up, but first let's go to our ABC 7 digital producer Chloe Conboy with tonight's poll question. Chloe.
Alan, we've had tons of comments on our Facebook poll. We asked our viewers, do you think the issue of a recount is a Democratic plot to overturn the election? Here's what some of you had to say. Edwin says, yes, the Democrats will do anything to win. On the other hand, Dan says, how about a poll asking if complaints about fraud are a GOP plot to stop the counting of Democratic votes? And Jim concludes by saying, this Facebook poll will also be a 50-50 and may need a recount. Jim, I don't think I'll be doing a recount on this Facebook poll, but I will reveal the final poll results coming up before Alan's final thoughts. Alan, back to you.
Thanks, Chloe. Who says our viewers don't have a sense of humor? Wendy, let me ask you this, because there was a lot of talk during this campaign that progressives had complained since 2016 that the Democrats kept on nominating middle-of-the-road, moderate Democrats along the I-4 corridor, and they kept losing. And what you needed was a progressive that energized the progressive debate. The Orlando Sentinel put it this way, if we could put it up on the screen. Progressives in Florida have long said if there were a real progressive candidate in the race, he or she would energize young and new voters in the way the usual centrists wouldn't, and yet record-breaking turnout numbers weren't enough to put Democrat Andrew Gillum over the top in the governor's race, thanks to, in part, to lower turnout in key South Florida counties and huge gains in smaller yet reliably Republican rural and suburban counties. Now, even as they celebrate gains in the legislature and other local races, Democrats and progressive groups are wondering what they need to do to turn out enough voters to win the statewide again.
Well, it's like you said, Alan. I've been hearing this complaint since I've covered politics for more than 20 years in Florida. And it comes from the liberals, the comparative liberal progressive element of the party in Southeast Florida. And for the last 5 elections before this one, Democrats nominated moderates from Central Florida, lost. And then the Southeast Florida liberal folks said, why won't you nominate one of us? We're the ones who get you elected anyway. Who knows whether they're right? In order to answer that question, you would have to engage in hypothetical things like, could Gwen Graham have won against Ron DeSantis? Both sides in this race were excited. What excited them? Partly it was Andrew Gillum, first black major party nominee for governor in history. That's no question that super excited black voters. Partly it was Trump. So to me, it's a hypothetical that you can't answer.
Rodney, what do Democrats have to do that they did not do this time?
I don't know what Democrats need to do. I know what American citizens need to do. We need to get out and vote, and I think this is going to be a moot point in a minute anyway, because I don't know why it didn't come up, but we just took the shackles off 1.6 million voters, 1.4 million voters, and it's going to be a moot point. If I'm a registered Democrat, but I consider myself an independent. I'm a Democrat, always have been, but I use it now to vote in the primaries, and it's going to be a moot point. We're organizing at unparalleled levels, and I think it's going to be. I don't think it'll be a sneak attack. We're coming right up the middle of the road, and we're educating those future voters. And I think this will be a moot point in the future.
That is an interesting point, Rodney, because Greg, as we know, voters decided to give back the voting rights of felons. It is an assumption that if these new voters will vote, that they will break Democratic. But does it, in your opinion, have a chance to really kind of change the equation statewide?
I don't think so. I mean, the Florida Senate, and we tried to do a ton of criminal justice reform. The House wouldn't go along with it. Very, very similar type things. And if the voters vote for that, it doesn't necessarily mean that those voters are Democratic or Republican. You don't know who those people are necessarily going to vote for. I think the candidates that Rick Scott and DeSantis won because their messages won out over their opponents. I've always said that races are about the candidates that are in those races. It's really not. I mean, look at the Margaret Good Ray Pilon race. You have more registered Republicans in that district than Democrats, and Margaret Good won. So obviously the constituents in that district voted for a message that they believed in. So I think people believed in what Rick Scott was doing. Bill Nelson has been there. Bill Nelson was elected to the U.S. Senate the year I was born. And many people couldn't even articulate things that he had done in the 40 years that he's been there.
So let's ask this question. How were the polls so wrong? I mean, there were 2 public polls that came out the week before the election that showed that Gillum was up by 5, almost a mirror in the U.S. Senate race. We've seen this time after time. We saw this in the primary. Senator, what do you think is going on here?
Well, several things. So we did a very, very good legitimate poll, live voter poll. You had to go all the way through the questions in my primary, and we were at plus 20 points. I won by 44 points. So that poll was 20 points off. Now things change between the time that the poll is done and the election day, but not much. Polling is just polling. It's not a fact of what the voters actually are. And with the Trump voters and people that may be registered to vote for Andrew Gillum, they're not being polled because they're not likely voters. Typically polls are going to poll people who are 304 and 404. Is the poll being done by robocall? Is it a live voter poll? There's so many things that comes with polling that you have to analyze to determine if you're getting accurate data.
Yeah, Rodney, there's been so much discussion about that. There's been a trend that, voters are going down their own party ticket right now, and that the real emphasis should be on those non-affiliated voters. Early indications are that the MPAs did not come out as strongly as expected. So what do Democratic candidates, you're a registered Democrat, have to do to win back those unaffiliated voters?
I think the Scott race and the Nelson race was a lackluster candidate in Nelson. He's been there half a century, and if it wasn't for Governor Scott, I supported Nelson because I can't support Scott. I don't agree with his behavior.
But neither one of them lit you on fire.
Yeah, neither one, and I blame the Democrats for allowing him to sit in that seat for so long and not be forward thinking and know that was going to be a problem. And we just have to continue to. I'm a big person that I vote for neighborhood. I could care less about party affiliation. I vote for what's best for my family and what's best for my neighbors. And I think if we get that mindset more and don't get caught up in this broken system of a government that we have when we vote on our homes and our family and our communities, I think we'll be in much better shape.
Wendy, look, theoretically, Bill Nelson could still pull this out. There are stories about how he still might do this, but there was a lot of discussion in Democratic circles before this race in earnest that why is he running for another term? Where is the Democratic bench?
Well, it's a little tough to convince anybody that their time has come. There was a bench out there. If he had decided not to run, there were 4 candidates in the primary for governor. There were people out there who could have run. But Nelson is a member of a dying breed, and that is the moderate white Southern Democrat. They just about no longer exist. They've been replaced either by people on the progressive side of the party, minorities, or Republicans.
All right. Greg, I want to ask you one more question before we go to the break, because you're now joining a Congress where Republicans are going to be in the minority. What do you do?
Yeah, I think I'm going to try to find things that hopefully bipartisan folks can agree upon. Reforms to veterans administration. I would think Republicans and Democrats could sit in the same room and say the VA system is broken, and I can give you example after example of how it is. How do we fix it? Let's reform the system. I think there's a lot of things that we can do as bipartisan. I will never quit fighting for my conservative ideals that I believe very strongly in. I've been in the political process for almost 10 years now. I know that going into a Democratic majority, that chairmen aren't going to hear those bills.
I think this is the first time you'll ever be in the minority in the legislative body.
So far, yeah.
Okay, we have to take a quick break. We'll be back for final thoughts in a moment.
Says Art, Sarasota's only area rug superstore.
This is an important message for anyone with Medicare. You may be eligible for an all-in-one Medicare plan that combines hospital, medical, and prescription drug coverage together with extra benefits that may include dental, vision, hearing aids, and much more. Some of these plans have a $0 monthly premium regardless of your income. That's right. For one low plan premium, or in some cases a $0 premium, you may be able to get coverage for your hospital visits, doctor appointments, prescription drugs, routine dental care, eyeglasses and contact lenses, hearing aids, and possibly more. Today may be the first time you've heard about this type of Medicare plan. The advisors at the Medicare.com helpline are licensed insurance agents who will explain more when you call. Call now to see if you qualify. Call the number on your screen now. Call now to see if you qualify for these benefits. You worked hard for your Medicare. Now is the time for your Medicare to work hard for you. Not affiliated with or acting on behalf of any government agency or program.
All right, crew, let's get started. Sure.
Don't ignore the law. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 days before any digging project so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811.
And welcome back. Our guests join us right now for final thoughts. And there's one other thing I wanted to bring up, and that was the repercussions from that press conference by the president yesterday, the White House stripping CNN's chief White House correspondent, Jim Acosta, with his White House credentials. After this happened in the East Room of the White House, let's take a look.
When you're in the White House, this is a very sacred place to me. This is a very special place. You have to treat the White House with respect. You have to treat the presidency with respect. If you've ever seen him dealing with Sarah Huckabee Sanders, it's a disgrace. And he does it for, you know, the reason. The same thing with April Ryan. I watch her get up. I mean, you talk about somebody that's a loser. She doesn't know what the hell she's doing.
All right. Now, most people, I think, probably saw the video, if we have it, of what happened with Jim Acosta trying to ask the president a question about immigration. It went on a long time, and Wendy, you do have some strong feelings about that. You saw what happened with the White House intern trying to get the microphone back, and then reportedly the White House itself doctored the video.
Well, that may not be true. Simply changing the video into a GIF could have had something of a similar effect. But the overall point is this. Much as I would like to side with a fellow journalist, particularly given the White House's attempt to foment hatred of journalists for political reasons, in this situation, both sides were wrong. I feel like Acosta's questioning was not professional. It was making him part of the story, which is what a journalist should never do. Then the White House took the bait, went out the window with it, unprecedentedly revoking his credentials, again in a further attempt, I think, to stoke their base.
And Ronnie, calling April Ryan, who is a correspondent for American Urban Radio, a loser.
Yeah, I mean, it's par for the course for our president. I mean, we've seen outlandish behavior since he came into office, unpresidential behavior, I believe un-American behavior at times. I know he's a different type of politician, but we've seen that type of behavior, inappropriate behavior out of him since he got there. And now he's elated his base to do the same thing. I mean, the amount of racial slurs that flew around at the polling places, against blacks who were there working the polls was just unprecedented.
Greg, you have to ask, isn't respect a two-way street here? I mean, you could take issue with what Jim Acosta did and issue with maybe what some other reporters ask. But the president making up names for them, calling them stupid, calling them, told another reporter today they asked stupid questions. I mean, shouldn't there be respect on both sides?
I mean, I don't use terminology and characterization like that, but from the video that we just watched, clearly he's the president of the United States, and he's telling whoever was asking him the question that he's not going to answer that question. And you have a staffer for the White House trying to take the mic from him, and he's deflecting her. And I just don't think that was, like you said, professional. And he's the president of the United States. If he doesn't want to answer your question, he doesn't have to answer your question. And if there's a White House staffer trying to take the microphone from you, you need to be respectful of that. And he was clearly trying to deflect this female White House staffer from taking the microphone. I just don't think that's appropriate.
All right, we have to leave it there.
Have to agree with that.
Okay. Thank you, Congressman-elect Greg Steube, Rodney Jones of the NAACP in Manatee County, and William March of the Tampa Bay Times. Now let's go to ABC 7 digital producer Chloe Conboy with tonight's poll question. Chloe.
Alan, this is the most votes we've had on our Week in Washington Facebook poll. We had a total of 2,000 votes, and the final results show 53% of viewers say yes, the issue of a recount is a Democratic plot to overturn the election, and 47% of you said no. Make sure to go to our Facebook page next Friday so you can participate in the Facebook poll, and maybe we will show your comments on air. Alan, back to you.
Chloe, thank you.